교황, 요한, 바오로, 2세, 명언을 영어로 배우기.
Pope John Paul II 1920–2005 Polish Pope. Pope John Paul II achieved several significant accomplishments during his papacy from 1978 to 2005. Promotion of peace and human rights. He played a crucial role in promoting peace, human rights, and religious freedom worldwide, using his moral authority to advocate for justice and tolerance. Contribution to the fall of communism, his support for the Solidarity movement in his native Poland, and his visits to Eastern European countries helped inspire opposition to communist regimes, contributing to the fall of communism in the region. Interfaith dialogue. Pope John Paul II was known for his efforts to build bridges between different faiths, engaging in interfaith dialogues and improving relations between the Catholic Church and other religions, especially Judaism and Islam. These achievements, among others, left a profound and lasting impact on the Catholic Church, global diplomacy, and the world at large during his papacy. Let's hear Pope John Paul II's famous quotes.
Freedom consists not in doing what we like, but in having the right to do what we ought. The future starts today, not tomorrow. Stupidity is also a gift of God, but one mustn't misuse it. Have no fear of moving into the unknown. Simply step out fearlessly knowing that I am with you. Therefore no harm can befall you. All is very, very well. Do this in complete faith and confidence. As the family goes, so goes the nation, and so goes the whole world in which we live. Science can purify religion from error and superstition. Religion can purify science from idolatry and false absolutes. To maintain a joyful family requires much from both the parents and the children. Each member of the family has to become, in a special way, the servant of the others. Do not abandon yourselves to despair. We are the Easter people and Hallelujah is our song. Marriage is an act of will that signifies and involves a mutual gift, which unites the spouses and binds them to their eventual souls, with whom they make up a soul family, a domestic church. Love is never defeated. And I could add, the history of Ireland proves it.
In this sentence, Pope John Paul II is expressing the idea that love is a powerful and enduring force that cannot be overcome by adversity or conflict. By mentioning the history of Ireland, he suggests that despite the historical challenges and conflicts that the Irish people have faced, the presence of love and compassion among them has endured and prevailed. Essentially, he is emphasizing the resilience and strength of love in the face of adversity and using Ireland's history as an example to illustrate this point.
An excuse is worse and more terrible than a lie. For an excuse is a lie guarded. When freedom does not have a purpose, when it does not wish to know anything about the rule of law engraved in the hearts of men and women, when it does not listen to the voice of conscience, it turns against humanity and society. I kiss the soil as if I placed a kiss on the hands of a mother. For the homeland is our earthly mother. I consider it my duty to be with my compatriots in this sublime and difficult moment. Social justice cannot be attained by violence. Violence kills what it intends to create. Humanity should question itself, once more, about the absurd and always unfair phenomenon of war, on whose stage of death and pain only remains standing the negotiating table that could and should have prevented it. I have a sweet tooth for song and music. This is my Polish sin.
In this sentence, Pope John Paul II is using a metaphorical expression to convey his deep love and passion for song and music. He describes it as a sweet tooth, suggesting that this particular fondness brings him joy and pleasure, much like a sweet treat would. By calling it his Polish sin, he humorously acknowledges that his strong attachment to music might be seen as a personal indulgence or guilty pleasure. This statement provides insight into his personal interests and demonstrates a lighthearted and self-aware side of his personality.
You are priests, not so political leaders. Let us not be under the illusion that we are serving the gospel through an exaggerated interest in the wide field of temporal problems. You will reciprocally promise love, loyalty and matrimonial honesty. We only want for you this day that these words constitute the principle of your entire life, and that with the help of divine grace you will observe these solemn vows that today, before God, you formulate.
Radical changes in world politics leave America with a heightened responsibility to be, for the world, an example of a genuinely free, democratic, just and humane society. War is a defeat for humanity. Young people are threatened by the evil use of advertising techniques that stimulate the natural inclination to avoid hard work, by promising the immediate satisfaction of every desire. The unworthy successor of Peter who desires to benefit from the immeasurable wealth of Christ feels the great need of your assistance, your prayers, your sacrifice, and he most humbly asks this of you.
In this sentence, Pope John Paul II is acknowledging the responsibility and humility that comes with being the Pope, who is often referred to as the successor of Peter in the Catholic tradition. He is essentially saying that as the Pope, he recognizes his own unworthiness and limitations, but also acknowledges the immense spiritual wealth and responsibility associated with his role. He is reaching out to the people, asking for their assistance, prayers, and sacrifices, emphasizing the importance of their support in fulfilling his duties as the leader of the Catholic Church. This statement reflects his humility and a recognition of the collaborative nature of his role, where he relies on the faith and efforts of the broader Catholic community to carry out his mission.
The vow of celib.
The vow of celibacy is a matter of keeping one's word to Christ and the Church. A duty and a proof of the priest's inner maturity, it is the expression of his personal dignity.
You are our dearly beloved brothers. And in a certain way, it could be said that you are our elder brothers. Pervading nationalism imposes its dominion on man today in many different forms, and with an aggressiveness that spares no one. The challenge that is already with us is the temptation to accept as true freedom what in reality is only a new form of slavery. The historical experience of socialist countries has sadly demonstrated that collectivism does not do away with alienation but rather increases it, adding to it a lack of basic necessities and economic inefficiency. Violence and arms can never resolve the problems of men. Wars generally do not resolve the problems for which they are fought and therefore prove ultimately futile. There are people and nations, Mother, that I would like to say to you by name. I entrust them to you in silence. I entrust them to you in the way that you know best.
In this sentence, Pope John Paul II is addressing the Virgin Mary, often referred to as mother in Catholic tradition. He is expressing his desire to pray for and offer support to specific individuals and nations, but chooses not to mention them explicitly. Instead, he entrusts them to the Virgin Mary's care through silent and private prayers. This reflects a common Catholic practice of seeking the intercession of the Virgin Mary for the well-being of specific people or regions, while maintaining a sense of confidentiality and respect for their privacy. It emphasizes his faith in Mary's role as a spiritual protector and advocate.
The great danger for family life. In the midst of any society whose idols are pleasure, comfort and independence, lies in the fact that people close their hearts and become selfish. The cemetery of the victims of human cruelty in our century is extended to include yet another vast cemetery, that of the unborn.
In this sentence, Pope John Paul II is drawing a powerful analogy. He likens the cemetery of the victims of human cruelty in our century to a place where the countless victims of various forms of human cruelty and violence throughout the 20th century are remembered. This could include victims of wars, genocides, and other atrocities. He then extends this metaphor to include the unborn, referring to fetuses that have been aborted. By doing so, he is emphasizing the scale of the tragedy surrounding abortion, likening it to other forms of human cruelty and violence that have marked the 20th century. This statement underscores his strong pro-life stance and his belief that abortion is a grave moral issue and a tragedy of significant proportions.
The United Nations organization has proclaimed 1979 as the Year of the Child. Are the children to receive the arms race from us as a necessary inheritance? Today, for the first time in history, a bishop of Rome sets foot on English soil. This fair land, once a distant outpost of the pagan world, has become, through the preaching of the gospel, a beloved and gifted portion of Christ's vineyard. I hope to have communion with the people. That is the most important thing. The question confronting the church today is not any longer whether the man in the street can grasp a religious message, but how to employ the communications media so as to let him have the full impact of the gospel message. From now on, it is only through a conscious choice and through a deliberate policy that humanity can survive.
오늘도 행복한 하루 보내세요. 유튜브에서 파요영어 검색으로 다른 주제 동영상도 살펴주세요. 감사합니다.